neither did Matt Amendola, Rex.
No, and us Jet fans realize, hey, we've seen this before. Just in a different color jersey.
He out there kicking like Danny Amendola.
Chiefs leaving lots of points on the field. And then here's a bit, Rex, they call Chris Jones for unsportsmanlike conduct.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I don't like that now.
Call a penalty on that offensive line for not protecting better. Give me a break.
That keeps the drive alive for Indy, and they get it back to Jelani Woods, his second touchdown.
Credit Matt Ryan for hanging in there on a tough day, pressure-wise, in Jelani Woods on that crosser versus man.
And so now, with the Chiefs' last chance, less than 10 seconds to go, we got a tip, we got a pick, we got a ball game. A stunning defensive performance by the Indianapolis Colts, a team a lot of people had sort of left for dead. They find a way to beat Kansas City 20-17. Rex, how do we explain this? Of all the things that happened yesterday, this one surprised me.
Yeah, absolutely. I was surprised too. And I think this is the first time that you can say Kansas City missed Tyreek Hill.
Show me why.
And I'm going to tell you why. Gus Bradley's the defensive coordinator, same guy that's DC for the Colts. Sid is a cover 3 beater. He's always in cover 3 right here, and you're going to see how Tyreek Hill can run those deep over routes against this particular defense. Here's a different look out of it. All right, boom. He ends up beating it. It's still the same exact coverage, all he ever plays, and now he ends up separating. Tyreek Hill was missed so bad in this game. That's what my first thought of is, man, did they miss Tyreek in this one?
And again, it was a day of missed opportunities in so many ways. Yes, maybe they missed Tyreek Hill. They also have the drop in the end zone that we showed you. They don't go for any points at the end of the first half. Maybe that made sense to do at the time. The fake field goal. They're obviously missing their kicker. So the Chiefs left a lot of things on the field yesterday.
They bumped the punt return.
All
that.
Gave them a touchdown.
I think what the Chiefs have gotten to is, in the past, we've seen them play like that and be so talented that they still win those games.
Correct.
And yesterday they just didn't. Obviously, when you look at the Chris Jones play and the penalty after, it's tough to deal with getting a penalty because you're talking, right? Like what am I going to say to other grown men that's so bad you have to throw a flag? But when you look at this team, they're still searching for that guy. You know it's going to be Travis Kelce, but what happens on a day like yesterday when he isn't playing his best? What happens on a day like yesterday when Eric Bieniemy and Patrick Mahomes are disagreeing? Who's going to be that person on offense that steps up outside of them? And yesterday they didn't necessarily have it, but this is still one of the best teams in the entire NFL.
I'm not going to overreact. 2 words come to mind: not sharp. That's what they were. They just weren't sharp. And also, it really felt like watching the game, they believed we could just show up and win.
But how many times have we seen them have those days, you know?
Totally valid. Where they're not sharp and they don't feel like they're totally there locked in wise. And then he hits Tyreek on an RPO slant and it goes for 60 yards. Patrick wasn't sharp early on. He didn't see the field early on. That being said, Travis makes this catch and they likely win the football game. Right. They don't throw that flag on Chris Jones and they likely win the football game. I'm not going to react. I agree that there are moments when you sit there and go, they missed the vertical element. Him and Marquez Valdes-Scantling have to get on the same page quickly when it comes to that, but they just weren't sharp.
The elements that we're talking about, the human element. All right, these are humans right here.
Right.
They saw the film on the Indianapolis Colts.
Sure.
I mean, it's absolutely brutal. I was calling him Matty cold as ice. He's stunk the first 2 weeks. And so they're going to get overconfident. Sometimes you can try to fight it.
Funny.
You're assuming that your team's always going to get up the same week in, week out. That's not
so
the
Kansas
case.
City loses, which is an opportunity for the Raiders and the Chargers to make up ground in their division. But what happened? Titans-Raiders. Late second quarter. Titans are winning. You missed more than just Dan Orlovsky's redemption. Sunday Night Football. It's Russell Wilson at home against Jimmy G making his first start for the 49ers. Rex, how about this touchdown pass to Brandon Ayuk?
Yeah, it's a good block by Samuel right there. Debo doing a great job of blocking right there.
49ers up 7-0 on a blatant pick play. And then they've got the defensive line. Down goes Russell.
There's San Francisco's defensive line, and then occasional blitz package is diabolical. But I love this from Russ here. Kind of telling that offensive line we'll be okay.
The moment again, Dan Orlovsky, go ahead.
This is the greatest moment of the NFL season so far, Green.
That is Jimmy Garoppolo pulling in Orlovsky, backing out of the end zone. I'm going to call this play the pick 8 because It's a pick six and a safety.
That was only 2 feet. Dan put 17 feet in.
That's true. But then on the
Can't
same
get me
play.
in a bad mood, RC.
Stand by. RC. On the same play, Trent Williams goes down.
This is the biggest play of the game for the San Francisco 49ers. He's the linchpin of that entire offense.
Meanwhile, the score was 7-5 because of the safety. Now it's 10-5. And Russell Wilson, Danny can still do this.
Granted, you kind of felt it in this moment, a little bit vintage Russell Wilson, really good scramble on third down there. And then I love the fact they've gotten so cute down in the red zone early on this season. Let's just play a little smash mouth football with Melvin Gordon.
Could have given it to Javonte for my DraftKings team, but that's neither here nor there. Broncos, it's 11-10, and now here come the 49ers. Final minute, they've got a chance, and then they don't.
This is beautiful. P.J. Locke chases down the play. Instead of just making the tackle, he goes to make a difference. Punches the football out, Denver football, and that's a win for a team that's really struggling offensively, but found a way.
How are they 2-1? I ask on behalf of America. All we talk about are all the things the Broncos don't do, and yet they're 2-1.
Their defense. I mean, that's just the dead honest truth. Is again another team that we talked a little bit too much about the offense offseason. Their defense. They played like absolute dog trash the first 3 weeks. They're 2-1, and they sit at the top of the division that we all thought might be the best division ever. Yeah. Now, I will say this. Later in that game, a little bit more vintage Russell Wilson, a little bit more comfortable, especially late in that fourth quarter where you saw that 3rd and 7, I believe it was. This scramble right here, 3rd and 7, they haven't gotten anything on offense going. He scrambles and finds Hinton, and then this scramble on 3rd and 5, he gets 8-9 yards, and then he changes the protection at the line of scrimmage, and he finds Sutton one-on-one. The back shoulder fade ball reminds me a little bit of him and DK Metcalf. Now, that was nice to see for Denver's offense.
Here's the thing. The conversation about Russell Wilson this year, we've had it, you and I, is he historically great? Is he an all-time great?
No.
There isn't any question he's good, though, right? No, that's my point.
Really
that's
good.
my point. He's good. And so last night, he shows you, and he's starting to show you, that at minimum, he's still good.
No, he's still very good. Here's the difference, though, right? We got into let Russ cook, right? We got into the moon balls, and we thought about Tim Patrick, who's not playing right now, Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy, and we thought there was going to be bombs everywhere. But what we saw last night, especially late, that was early on Russ. Right. Russ that can get outside the pocket and make plays. Russ that can find ways to be an extension of the offense outside of the playbook. And he almost seemed in the first 2 games that he didn't want to go back to that. That he was competing to be something else. And now you settle into this. Also, I just want you to say this, Greeny. You ask how can they be 2-1? Right. I'm finna tell you. Please. Geno Smith, Davis Mills, and Jimmy Garoppolo. We are not playing a treacherous role quarterback.
And they should have beaten Geno Smith, too. I remember all the turnovers they had inside the 5 week 1. But you're right. So far, the competition, when it steps up in class, we'll see. But the Raiders are winless in that division, and the Chargers look stunningly terrible. What do you think of the Broncos right now and Russell Wilson?
I think they're terrible. They scored 11 points. Greeny, they scored 11 points. All right? So to sit back and say, this is the same Russell Wilson, no, it isn't. And I'll tell you why. It's a way different scheme. Yeah. Like the best thing with Russ is pound the football and then let him do his thing. But throwing the deep ball off of play action is the best thing that he does. I don't see that with this offense. They're always in gun. You're taking away the best thing you do is run the football, Denver. All right, offensively, at least it was last year. They're trying to put a square peg in a round hole. I don't get it. And they need to go back to doing what Russ does. Make this Russell Wilson offense, which, by the way, starts with predominantly running the football. And I think now they could be that team. They have the pieces, I think, to do it. But if they continue to run this offense, they're not going to go anywhere.
All right, so that's what happened last night. In the meantime, on these Mondays, I want to make sure that we get in at least a few thoughts on some of the other games we haven't touched on. Dan, how are the Bears 2-1 right now?
Their defense flies around to the football. They don't give up a bunch of big plays, but their offense, run game-wise, can get explosive. Khalil Herbert is doing a really good job in their zone run game and creating some explosive runs. But their defense gets to the ball, they play hard, they don't give up big plays, and then they're capitalizing on turnovers and takeaways. Roquan Smith takes that interception near the end of the game. That's the game-changing play right here. They end up kicking the field goal to win the football game.
Rex, next up, Cincinnati. Did Joe Burrow figure it out yesterday, or was that just the Jets?
Well, I think it's a little combo platter here. Preseason's over. Joe Burrow ends up looking like, all right, this is our guy. This is the guy we thought we were going to have all year. But his preseason's over. He had no work in training camp. I think it's more about the Bengals. and Joe Burrow getting back at it. I will say this, though. The Jets, we're throwing way too many passes here. Lead the league in pass attempts with Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
They contribute to this. Sometimes when you run the ball, you help your defense out. I saw that.
And then finally, the Lions. We all love them, RC, but when are they going to win these close games?
I think they're building toward that. You look at this defense, they're not really from a roster standpoint built to close out football games. But that's why you have Aiden Hutchinson. That's why you have people on the outside who are young and talented. And I think they'll grow to that. But when you watch this offense, especially when DeAndre Swift and Amon-Ra St. Brown are healthy and playing, they can do whatever they want offensively. And that's with Jared Goff, a guy who we basically counted out after being traded to Detroit.
All right, and so that is